does feel like we're in desperate need of more artists in the Latin pop world to rise up and shine through in the ways that an artist like Rosalia has, and start turning a lot of heads and getting people really excited for the genre. And it looks like this artist here, Lido Pimienta, if I'm pronouncing that completely wrong, I apologize, but it does feel like she could be the next artist to sort of follow Rosalia in her footsteps. It's not like we're missing much of this in the mainstream though. I mean, J Balvin, Bad Bunny, other artists too are massive, making huge waves, but it does sort of feel like, yes, there's a gap in the market for this sound, and it sort of feels like there should be way more artists flooding in. And I think Lido Pimienta here is showing sort of, I guess I want to say, some potential for mass appeal, but there's something missing from this album, and I can't quite say I'm fully on board with what I'm hearing here. One thing I do like about her though is that she has a really pretty voice. Like, she has a really nice on the ears voice. It's very angelic at times, it's very floaty, it's very whispery, but it does leave a nice sensation listening to the way she sings. She has honestly got no issues in the singing area whatsoever. For me though, there's a stiffness to this album in the ways I don't really gravitate to with this kind of music. It's obviously Latin pop, it's also got a bit of an art pop approach to it as well, but there's bits of elements here and there of like Afro Cuban jazz, and I would love it if she went all out with that, because I think the tracks that almost reach that are by far the best on this album. But then you have tracks like Nada, and for me, the beat is so sluggish. Honestly, it needs like upping in its tempo. It just moves at like the worst pace. The pacing of that track to me is really not good. It's incredibly hollow, and I've already mentioned how stiff this album can be as well. Like, I need more melody pushing this, man. This is not enough for an instrumental. Like, you need more going on in a track like this. Which brings me to Te Quiero, and that is like the track that Nada was supposed to be. Like, this track is filled with character. It has so much in the way of like flavor to it. I think the added extra instrumentation is a really nice touch too. Like, everything just feels livelier in this track, and yet Nada just doesn't bring that to the table at all. Similar issue with Pelo Cuckoo, just an incredibly lifeless track, to be honest. Not really anything going on here that excites me at all. It's incredibly thin sounding as well. I just think there needs to be an up in the production value throughout this album. I do love the way that she goes very traditional on the track Quiero que me salves, which is a track for me that I think brings back the traditional sound in a nice way. It's a very earthly track, you know. It just feels very homely, and the sort of like bare bonesness to it just brings in this incredibly natural feel, which I like. But the incessantly, and I mean incessantly, repetitive refrain that takes up the whole song, I just think it needs varying up. Like, you've got to interest me with a better refrain than this. Like, you can't just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over. Like, it was fine to begin with, but god damn. The track that precedes it is a spoken word piece. Don't really know much about this because obviously I don't speak the language, but again, I feel like it does sort of just get thrown in the album. Like, maybe you didn't need to have it like as long as it is, I don't know, but it does kind of interrupt the flow of the album, to be honest. The first couple of tracks as well, not really anything going on here that interests me, to be honest. There's just a lack of fire to this album. Like, everything just feels hollow, and I just think, again, if you up the production value, if you added some extra instruments in some of the tracks, maybe that'll be where she moves on to next with her following release. I don't know, but until then, like, these tracks are just missing so much to them. The best moment and the best example of how she can really get it right is by far the best track on the album, Resisto y Ya. This right here is what I'm looking for. The friggin' horns are flying all over the place, man. They are just going off the chain, and it just sounds like the most exciting, like, parade song you'll ever hear. It is absolutely momentous, man. It is filled with character, and this is just what I'm looking for in this style of music. It's playing way more, excuse me, to the Afro-Cuban jazz genre I was talking about earlier. And it definitely reminds me of like some Orlando Cachito Lopez from like the early 2000s, and any other artists in that genre too that I could probably name drop just randomly. But it's seriously a genre way more people need to be checking out. Honestly, if the whole album went in this direction, I think I probably would have been at the complete opposite end of the review. Like, it would be way more positive and I'd just be way more excited about her future. But until I see a bit more of this, I think I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be totally on board with her later down the line. It's a 5 out of 10 from me, sadly. Not really totally on board with this at all, but I definitely see something, slight slithers of excellence that maybe could burst out in the future. So let me know your thoughts on this album. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you want recommendations that I think you know, you should be checking out in this style of music, just hit me up in the comments, maybe message me on Twitter or something. I can find some stuff to send you. And yeah, well, have a good day, subscribe, and goodbye.